Hungry to learn what's happening with B2B sales in the Dallas-Fort Worth area? Tom Neeson's been following it for 20 plus years, working with hundreds of different companies. He knows all the ins and outs of doing business in DFW. Now he wants to share that knowledge with you. Are you ready for more insight? It's time for another episode of the DFW Business Podcast with your host, Tom Neeson.
Well, welcome everybody back to the Dallas Business Synopsis. As always, we talk about the business that is such a fertile ground for new business. And it seems like Dallas keeps growing and growing, and we're getting an influx of bigger businesses. And one thing unique, I think, about Texas is we've got, seems like a buffer whenever we get an economy crash in 2008. We didn't feel it as hard, and it took us a while to get here. And I also see that that's a plus for us, but it's also a plus, I think, in great economy. We can do things and still be buffered in a lot of different ways and grow and try new ideas and do different things, because we do have pretty steady economy and we don't have some real influx from outside forces as the East and West Coast do. So with that being said, let's get started. Today's guest, I have Greg Shepard. He's the president and founder of Dallas Maids. So perfect, he's right here in Dallas, but he's also, I think, been in this business for quite a while. So Greg, welcome, and why don't you tell us a little bit about Dallas Maids and yourself?
Sure, Tom. Thanks for having me. Dallas Maids, I started in 2004. I used to be in the IT industry, IBM and Bank of America, but just really wanted to do my own thing. And Maid Service, why a Maid Service? I just knew I wouldn't fail. Couldn't explain it, but I knew it would be a success. And so I left IT and started my Maid Service. Built a website, hired a couple ladies, got an office manager, got a small little office. They said it was an office, but I think it was really a closet. But when you start out, you got to be on a budget.
That's right.
So, and from there, I just grew it and grew, and it's just grown fantastically, better than what I had expected. And now we moved. We actually own the office building now, and not the same one, but got our own office and doing great. Dallas is just a great city to have a maid service in.
That's great. And this sounds like this is something that, if I look past, you've done a couple of iterations of this. Is that correct? Or you've always, when you started the business, you've always been in the maid service business?
Oh yeah, no. Dallas Maids was my first business, and Emily's Personnel Service, or Emily's Maids, it came later on. Actually, there was another maid service owner, and I was trying to help him with his business by transferring leads to him to help him out. And these were customers that said, hey, your prices are too high, so my staff would refer them to this other maid service. Unfortunately, they went out of business, and I thought, why not start a second maid service, just more bare bones with a lower pricing to catch those cost-conscious customers? And thus, Emily's Maids was born. And then after Emily's Maids, started Memphis Maids. But that's, I actually only have partial ownership, as my sister and brother-in-law owns the other pieces of Memphis Maids. So I have 3 maid services.
Wow. Okay. So, tell me a little bit about it. Is this basically a business consumer, or do you also do commercial business?
Nope. It's mostly residential. Okay. And, thought about doing commercial, but that would be an entire different beast altogether. So we just focus on families in Dallas, Texas.
Okay. And so, I imagine, tell me a little bit about what you've seen in the last couple of years. Has growth in this area, because we've got, Toyota's moved in, we've got Charles Schwab and Liberty and a couple others. So have you seen a tremendous growth, or do you?
Oh, yes. And it's just, Dallas is just an outstanding city to have any business. You have this influx of new customers coming in, and it's really nice. I heard complaints from some of my other friends that have maid services, and we've seen actually labor dry up. So it's not as easy to find people as it had been before. But quite frankly, that was a blessing in disguise. What I did, I simply stepped up my efforts, hired someone to do HR, and revamped our hiring process. So we've actually come out better because of it. But overall, Dallas has grown, and it's just gotten to be a much better city, not only for business but just to live in.
Yeah, it is. It's a great city to live in, and it just keeps growing and getting better. And nice thing is, while people may complain about the roads here, at least we're spending money on better and fixing them. But I think any city has that problem, So have you seen a different way of how you market to business here in Dallas? Do you see Dallas as being totally different from other markets?
Our number one way to garner customers is simply Google organic listing. That has been outstanding. And we've been so lucky for Dallas Maids, or in Memphis. If you look, try to find a house cleaning service in Memphis, we come up at the very, very top. And, Tom, this is something that any business owner can do without hiring an SEO business to do it. I did it myself, and it's not that hard, but it's fantastic because, one, it's free, and two, it's just a constant influx of customers. The second way, I don't know if it's really marketing, but the second biggest source is just simply through referrals. And then we dabble, of course, in some paid advertising like Google AdWords. We just started Yelp right now. Just trying to experiment. Now, in the past, we've experimented with other mediums too. We've advertised in magazines, even on TV. But throughout, the years, Google has proven to be the best way to advertise, getting up at the very top of listings.
That's great. So, I think that's one thing. It sounds like you're using technology to really move the market for you, which I think a lot of companies are still struggling with. How do I use Google, and how do I attack the market? And I think a lot of people don't understand it.
Tom, I'd be glad to share if you'd like.
Please, yeah.
Okay. It wasn't that hard. When I started out with Dallas Maids, I just went on Google, and this was in 2004, I guess before SEO companies came about. But I just went on Google and pretended I was a customer. And so I typed in some keywords to try to find maid services. I took a note of those keywords, and I saw the same businesses or websites pop up over and over again. And I simply went to those websites, whether they were a directory or whatnot, and try to get a link back to my business. And when I created my website, it had, naturally it had all the keywords. So that was then. And I got on the first page of Google within 10 days. It was crazy.
Wow.
But today it's a little bit different. What you want is have a Google My Business page, have a Facebook page, of course, have a website. Make sure they're all linked together. Make sure that your address and phone number is congruent throughout the web. Also, having your address at the bottom of your website helps out a lot. You want to be congruent, and you want your website to be user-friendly. You want it to have content that users want. Google wants a genuine website that people will find useful. Don't try to play with Google.
Right.
I think that's probably the downfall of some businesses. Through the years, I've seen maid services pop up to the very top of number one spot of Google, knocking me down to number two, and then within a few weeks they're gone. So my advice is have Google My Business, Facebook, your website, have a easily to understand website, provide content that's useful to your viewers, and just be genuine. That's all. And I think having a YouTube channel helps too. A few years ago, we did a YouTube channel and hired a actress, a writer, and made made a few corny videos, but having that link back to my website and having that YouTube channel actually being semi-successful, I think helps a lot. Google rewards good content.
Got it. Well, I mean, it's interesting. I think we're hearing more and more, in the old days, I mean by old days, probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was always interruption marketing, where as a salesperson, I'd do a cold call and say, hey, you want my service, or knock on your door saying, hey, you want my service. And those people that said yes, we then give them information. And you brought it up, which I think it's becoming more and more, is offer information for free without interruption, and make it available on your website. Don't hide it. And if you do that, the people that are interested, that take your information, will more likely call you back if they can get what they want. I had talking to a person that owns a company that is a chat company. So when you go to a website and that thing comes up and says, "Can I help you?"
Mm-hmm.
He owns that company that does that, and he says what sets him apart is most of those, when they say, "Can I help you?" and you say, "Yes, I want this information," they ask for your email address and phone number, and then say someone will contact you, which does just the opposite of what you wanted, because I just wanted that information. Now I got to wait for a salesperson to call me. And his whole thing is, hey, when they come on, you ask them what they want, and you give it to them. And you're creating a relationship at that stage of the game, not when a face-to-face happens. So sounds like you found a way to make that happen and make some money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask questions. And you mentioned it before, but I want to maybe expound that a little more. Is you're in that position where you've got to have people, and finding people to work for you in today's world is getting harder and harder, especially in Dallas. So what do you do? What are the key things that you do to make your employees happy to say, I want to work here and not go to somebody else?
Gotcha. Good question. Well, first, we want to find the right people, and we have a very selective interviewing process. We go, when we're finding somebody, we go through hundreds and hundreds of people that apply. But if they get through the application process and they get through the audition and they're hired and they get through training and the first 2 weeks evaluation, the 3-month evaluation, they have a job, they're doing great, and we definitely want to keep them. So how do we keep them? First, above average pay. We pay above average. 2, we pay per performance. Each pay period, every 2 weeks, they get a nice bonus based on a lot of factors. One, of course, customer feedback. Customers are actually sent an email after each cleaning asking, hey, how was your cleaning? Let us know. And what they put, when they reply, it's recorded in our system on a 5-star basis. So we know which teams are performing. And so we know which teams to provide a nice bonus. But of course, there's other factors like following procedures and stuff like that. But those performance bonuses are fantastic too. We definitely advertise those performance bonuses in our office. So when ladies come in, they can see where they're at. They can see the compliments that their customers are giving them. We have it on the board, and all the good stuff is in green. And if they get a complaint, that would be in red. So that's a huge motivation for them to go above and beyond and do a fantastic job for the customer. 1, not to be shamed, but 2, for that extra money.
Got it.
And of course, we have other things like company events. We recently had a family event where we took everybody to a water park, and then we're going to have a Halloween party coming up, and then of course Christmas party. So we have events like that outside of Dallas Maids just for their families.
So a couple things that I'm hearing is that one is you're always looking for people, and I think that's one thing that a lot of companies fail in, is that they wait till someone leaves and they look for a new hire, and it's too late.
You keep look. Yes, exactly. You look even if you don't need people.
Right. right? Because at some point, something's going to happen. So constantly looking, good recruiting process. And then you're paying at a higher dollar. So, it's another one that a couple places, great places that believe in that is the Container Store and Costco. They pay a higher rate, and their belief is one great employee is worth 3 good ones. And so they're willing to recruit the right people, pay them higher. And then it sounds like you then have a bonus program that works 2 ways. Number one, you're giving them more money if they do a great job, but you're also using that so they can rate themselves, whether they're all in green or red. And it becomes more of a high recognition thing is, hey, I know I'm doing a good job. Or I can see where I'm not and what I can do different. So I think it's funny that a lot of people don't realize that employees come to work for people and don't want to fail. They don't want to do a bad job. I believe that majority of them don't say, hey, I want to work for you and do a bad job. They sit there and say, I want to do a good job. And how often do we really let them know where they stand? And so you have a great system that they're not just cleaning a house and you don't care, but twofold, it helps them, but it also gives your customers a chance to voice, hey, something they didn't like or something they can do better. And so your customers feel they have a voice of changing the service they got or improving the service they got. So great idea. I mean, you stole that from some smart clients.
It was just, it didn't really take rocket science. This is a hard job. And if your staff does a great job, they need to know about it. They need to feel that satisfaction. So it was a no-brainer.
Yeah. Sounds like it. So if you're growing in Dallas, do you expect to grow outside of Dallas and go to Houston or go elsewhere?
Good question. Well, we have Dallas Maids and Emily Maids in Dallas, and Memphis Maids in Memphis. Good question, because I'm actually working with another maid service owner. She's in Toronto, and we are planning to actually go really big and hit markets throughout the U.S. The name of the company would be called HireMaid, hiremaid.com. We don't have the website up yet, but that I'm excited about.
That sounds like it. I mean, that's what it sounds. It's like anything. I think you've done what we call it, the incubator model. That you've taken it, you've made it work here. You've got the systems and the processes down, and now once you've done that, you can repeat that elsewhere and grow from beyond that.
Yeah, that's having a robust system that produces the same results over and over again. That's simply how to start and maintain and grow a business.
Right. Yeah. Once you fix it there, and I think too many companies are shooting from the hip on just about everything. So interesting. So what do you see in, let's say 5-10 years from now? Do you see any changes in your world, or do you see technology affecting your business at all?
Well, people will always need their homes clean. So woohoo. Right. But technology, yes. Technology is changing. And it's actually been fantastic for Dallas Maids. Our first website in 2004 was quite rudimentary, very basic. But our website now, we have a beautiful website where the customer can call us, or the customer can go online and book anytime they want. So they can book online in 60 seconds, and that's proven a huge convenience for many of our customers. So we use that online scheduling system. Actually, a lot of our utilities are online. Our email that we use is online. We use 8x8 for phone, that's VoIP, and also Upwork. Upwork.com has been valuable. I have a lot of virtual assistants that work at Dallas Maids or work at Emily's Maids. Like Emily's Maids, you call Emily's Maids and you'll get Jill. And she is friendly, awesome. You can't even tell. She has a perfectly American accent, but she lives in Costa Rica. Yeah. And Ruby helps out with Dallas Maids. I have 3 ladies in the office, but Ruby's there as a backup, and she's from El Salvador. So she's taking calls, and also the HR. That's what I had hired on primarily to do, is look for good people. So she's the first line. She weeds out the hundreds of people that are looking for a job and just sends the 1% to our office for an office interview.
Got it. Interesting. So think about some new people starting up business, some entrepreneurs. What kind of advice can you give to someone starting from scratch like you did? Anything that you could pick and say, here's 5 things you're going to make sure you do?
Yeah, good question. Okay, first is, and I found this to be true, is try to figure out all of your costs, every potential cost of starting and maintaining that business for the first year. Once you figure out all of the costs, write that number down, and then multiply that by 2, and that'll be your real costs, and then add a quarter for your mistakes. That's, I found that to be true. I remember seeing that equation years later, and it's right on. Business owners tend to underestimate how much it costs to start a business, and that's one of the reasons why many go out of business, is they don't have the money to continue. Fortunately for me, I could sell, some stocks I had saved up. 2, well, find the best people, find the right people. That's so important. It's your biggest asset. And if you have great people, you're going to have a great business. So 1, make sure you have the money. 2, hire the right people. And 3, this may seem counterintuitive. People think about starting a business and they think, I got to have a original new idea that no one has ever thought of, and that's my ticket. But no, that's actually, you have more of a chance of failing because it's an untested idea. Go for the dull, like a maid service or a lawn care service or whatever. These businesses that are dull, you can look throughout your city. There's hundreds of them. And don't think that because there's hundreds, the market is saturated. That's wrong. If there's hundreds of these dull businesses, that's proof of market. That means that there's enough customers to support all these businesses. And if you go in there and you do just a little bit better than these other businesses, which is pretty easy to do, you are going to kill it.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Figure out what your costs are and then double it and then add a quarter, which is so smart, because you're right. So many businesses start out with thinking cost is one thing and ends up something else.
Yeah, Tom, not really related, but the stock I sold to keep my business running, I bought Amazon at $16 or $18 per share. I think I sold it around $34, $36 per share to keep Dallas Maids going.
Right.
And quite frankly, I think that was the right decision. Having a business is a much better investment, because even it went from 16, 18 up to, I think it's over 1,000 now.
Right.
Dallas Maids has been much more profitable.
There you go. Well, good. I agree with that. You made the right decision. I think, and we hear the story of Fred Smith at FedEx that bet his last $1,000 at the poker table to keep his company alive and won. So yeah, you got to take those chances. And I think that's an interesting point. Sometimes you got to take those risks. And so I think you're bringing back the cost, right people, proof of market, which is a great thing. Is if there's a lot out there, then you just got to find a way to do it different than everybody else, and you'll be great, because obviously that means there's a lot of people out there buying your service.
Yeah.
So, and I think one other thing we can add for that to our listeners is kind of, you said it, but we just talked about, is don't be afraid to take risks now and then. Take a chance. I think as an entrepreneur, when we start a business, we take risks all the time. We gamble all the time. And then once you get your business to somewhat of a mature state, we stop gambling. We stop taking risks because we got all this going. I said, my belief is you always take risks. You always take another chance, because the market constantly grows and doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't. You got to be flexible and take on the new challenges and changes that occur. Yeah. So, hey, one last question I always ask everybody is, you're a real
entrepreneur, CEO, or president of a company. When there's an evening at 3 o'clock in the morning, you wake up ready, sick to your stomach, ready to throw up, and there's always something. I always say, if you haven't done that, you haven't matured your company yet. So what's got you up late at night and stopped you wondering if you did the right business or not?
Did I do the right business? Yes, I did the right business. But what keeps me up at night with my businesses? That's a good question. I think now what's keeping me up at night is starting that new venture, Hire a Maid, and working with my partner and figuring out the best strategy, what will work. Because I haven't gone out to this scale before. I haven't ventured out with the plan to hit all these different states and cities. And so it's a huge operation. I know there's going to be a lot of work ahead. And so that's what's been on my mind lately. As for, Dallas Maids or Emily's Maids, those pretty much, run with minimal effort on my part. So I'm happy with that. So this new business venture is what's keeping me up at night.
Well, good. So let's give some information for people that might want to get a hold of you. How do they get a hold of Dallas Maids? Maybe to get a maid, or you're going to invest in your new business?
Yeah, well, Dallas Maids, our website's dallasmaids.com. Pretty simple. And they can call. They'll get Diana or Nellie or Ruby on the phone, and they'd be glad to take their order. Or they can just go online and book through our convenient online booking form, and they can get the free quote through the booking form and book if they like. Pick their day and time, and we'll be right over there. Great.
So once again, we're talking to Greg Shepard, founder and president of DallasMaids.com, or Dallas Maids, but it's DallasMaids.com. Definitely get a hold of that. If you're using a maid now, you might want to check them out, because it sounds like they definitely take customer service to a new level. Greg, thanks so much for being on our show.
My pleasure.
And thanks everybody for listening. And we'll catch you next time on Dallas Business Synopsis.
Thanks for joining us today on the Dallas-Fort Worth Business Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please tell a friend and make sure and rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. To hear more about Tom and his company, you can go to salesmadeeasy.com, or you can email him at tom@salesmadeeasy.com.